In 1722, Jacob Roggeveen and his crew were exploring the Pacific Ocean for the Dutch. On Easter Day, they came across a very isolated island. It was born from volcanoes just like every other island in the South Pacific, so the explorers expected to find a very experienced seafaring population, the calm nature of a paradise, tropical birds, and lavish plant life. However, they encountered about 4 leaky canoes, some chickens, cannibals, and no trees whatsoever. So how did this come about? How did Easter Island end up so different from all the other islands? We must look to the history, science, and theories behind Easter Island to gain a better understanding. When the island was first discovered, there was no plant life over 10 feet tall. It was a complete wasteland. It was hard to believe that people were living on the island in the state that it was in. Not only was there almost no plant life, but there were no native animals aside from insects. The only domesticated animals were chickens. The islanders' complete lack of resources left them unprotected against the winters, which could be cold and wet. And before the Europeans arrived, the poverty on the island had gotten so bad that they had broken out in a civil war and had begun to resort to cannibalism for food. Not only did the islanders have no way of escaping the island, but there is no explanation as to how they got to the island in the first place. This is one of the many mysteries of Easter Island. Scientists believe that the islanders were originally Polynesians that traveled to Easter Island, but there is still no concrete evidence, and that's thousands of miles away. The next question is, how did they deplete all of their resources? Scientists have been able to trace pollen records back thousands of years on Easter Island. The records show that the islanders had begun to deplete their resources by the year 800. The changes were slow at first. They cut down trees faster than they grew to burn wood for fire and build canoes. Then as their population grew, they had to clear more land for farming and hunt their animals to near extinction for food. The changes were slow in the sense of one person, for they could not notice the changes in their lifetime. However, over a span of 600 years, the changes were detrimental. By the year 1400, there were no trees left standing on Easter Island. The deforestation of Easter Island puzzles many scientists, but it brings even more attention to the greatest mystery of all: the giant stone statues found all over the island. The statues are called moai and range from 4 feet tall to 33 feet tall. They weigh up to 270 tons. They are carved in stone quarries all over the island and then transported to the platforms they stand on today. Those platforms are up to 11 miles away from where the statues were originally carved. This is where all the questions come in. The islanders had no draft animals to help them transport the statues, and there's no record of any simple machine ever being built to help move them. So, why did these people build the statues, and how did this archaic civilization transport these colossal stones? And lastly, was it the building of the statues that led to the destruction of Easter Island? The most common belief about why the islanders built the statues is that they were to honor their ancestors. However, how they were transported sparks a whole new chain of theories. Some scientists believe that the statues were laid on wooden slabs and then dragged to their places, and other scientists believe that the statues were rolled on logs. However, the islanders tell stories passed from generation to generation about the moai walking to their places. This has helped scientists develop their newest theory. In 2011, a group of 18 archaeologists were able to move a 10-foot-tall, 5-ton replica of a moai a few hundred yards. They did so by securing 3 ropes around the head of the moai and then rocking it back and forth. This created a motion that could have been described as walking. So maybe these moai did walk to their places after all. And maybe the islanders were so focused on making bigger and better statues that they lost everything they had trying to make giant monuments. It took large amounts of manpower and lumber to build and transport the statues. And with all of the civilization's focus on their statues, it wasn't hard for the destruction of their island to go unnoticed. They had to clear more land for farming and hunt more animals to feed all of the workers. and trees had to be cut down to make the ropes to transport the statues. With all of the panic and chaos that sparked after all of the trees and animals were gone, the islanders broke out in a civil war, and opposing clans began to knock down other groups' statues. It's crazy to think that a civilization can devote all of its time, energy, and resources to building monuments, and then try to destroy them in a moment of panic and chaos. Today, it is argued that our civilization is beginning to develop its own stone statues. A great representation of this is in this copy of National Geographic. On the cover, we have the stone statue of one civilization, but on the back cover, could this be the stone statue of our civilization? We may not break out in a civil war over the next iPhone. However, we're focused on how to make the screens thinner and wider, and not the bigger picture. We're depleting all of our resources just like the Easter Islanders. A great representation of the depletion of our resources is in our use of the internet. When we upload things to the internet or save things into the cloud, we don't think about where that information goes, but it has to go somewhere, and in this case, somewhere is known as data centers. Data centers are essentially giant warehouses full of computers, and these computers house all of the digital information that makes up the internet. Worldwide, data centers use up 30 billion watts of energy, 90% of which is wasted energy, all because data centers are left running full capacity 24/7 so that we can have high-speed internet. 90% of those 30 billion watts is wasted energy just for faster speeds. This is why we must look to history to help prevent a devastating future for our civilization. We saw how the Easter Islanders began with an island that was beautiful and promising, but destroyed it when they used all of their resources. We saw how they put all of their focus on their monuments and not enough focus on preserving the things that they had. And we've seen how our civilization has begun to reflect their civilization. We must learn from the mistakes in history, and we must use that knowledge to help prevent a devastating future for our civilization. Thank you.